Hi, this is Erin from BlossyB. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to make a range of homeware pieces for a market stall. I'm going to use AR400 acrylic resin eco casting powder and ARC liquid pigments in pastel colours. And at the end of the video, I'll share with you how I felt it went and what I might do differently next time. I'm using the AR400 acrylic resin eco casting powder from Harry & Wilmer, and it is such a beautiful product. It is mixed in a 3:1 ratio, so 3 parts of the powder and 1 part of tap water. And for this batch, I've actually measured out the powder first and then added in the tap water. Now I do switch this around for a future batch, so I'll let you know when I do that and why. So what I'm doing is I'm just using a large paddle pop stick and I'm stirring it around, but also pressing it up against the sides just to make sure that there's no little clumps of powder. You want to end up with a very fine silky mixture, and it's probably about the consistency of milk. And I'm using one of the ARC liquid pigments from Just Resin, and this one is in the colour turquoise. And I've only popped 3 drops in, and you can see that it gives a beautiful colour straight away. So the moulds that I'm using today are, as far as I can recollect, all from Temu. So they're all very economical moulds. And I just want to see how I go with making batch after batch of consistent colours so that I can show myself I can actually work it all out mathematically and have the same ratios every time. So these first 2 moulds are the little, look at a little seashell trinket tray. I have had some issues with these trays before with bubbles around the top edges, but I thought I would give them a little try today and see how they go. Now I'm working with 2 paper cups instead of 1, and some of you may have watched a video in the past where I was stirring away with my mixture, and obviously the combination of the abrasive nature of the powder and my super stirring abilities led to the bottom of the paper cup tearing. So now I always try and use 2 paper cups at once just to avoid that scenario. The second paper cup always just gets used again, so there's no waste there. It's just a safety precaution. Now I also like to try and keep an ice cube tray on hand, and into that can go any really small little bits of resin that are left over that can then go on to become like little fridge magnets and things like that. So I've filled up now a little bird mould as well. And this little jar is so cute. It's I think called an eggshell top jar. It has a really pretty wavy top to it and would be perfect either for makeup brushes or pencils and things like that. And now this is a little beehive, and I just love this. I keep thinking to myself, oh, I must decorate these with, colouring in the bees on the side, and I never do because I just really like the look of how simple and plain but gorgeous they are. So very pretty. Now you'll notice that the last little amount that I poured in had a little bit of a lighter colour, and I think that I possibly didn't use as much casting powder in that one. I'm not quite sure, and I may have adjusted my drops back down. I don't go ahead and show you every single batch I make up because I made so many. I'm mainly working in batch sizes of 240 grams of powder and 3 into 240 is 80, so that means I have 80 grams of tap water, and that to me is a reasonable amount. This does start setting quite quickly, and you'll find your own sweet spot when you're working with a product like this as to where your comfort level is. I like to do smaller batches and top up if needed. I know some people are very proficient at doing larger batches, and it's just your comfort level. Always just err on the side of caution. So I've also done 2 little 3D bird moulds there, which are gorgeous. And now I'm doing the little elephant planter mould. And so my idea is to just keep using these moulds over and over, so that I can build up this little sort of a stock collection. Now, this isn't something I've ever done before. I've always prided myself on making really unique one-off pieces, and I was testing out the possibility of me doing this to see if I could actually get enough stock for a market stall or something like that. And so that's what's running through my mind as I'm doing this. Just trying to figure out if it's something I enjoy doing, the economies of it, things like that. So this will take around 45 minutes only to cure, and I normally demold the AR400 cast pieces at around the 1 hour mark. They do take up to another day or two to reach their full strength. So when you're demolding at that 1 hour mark, you are demolding a product that is quite fragile and it hasn't reached the hardness that it will. So you just have to be a bit careful. By the same token, some of these moulds aren't that easy to take the silicone mould off. So you do also have to use a little bit of force. So that's my little elephant, and I was really pleased with that one. They always look so cute, and they're really pretty with a little, like a cactus in it or cuttings or something like that. And then these are the 3D birds. And again, they are such a pretty design. If you have this mould and you're pouring it, pay extra attention to the tail and the beak. And so what I do is I pour around about between 30 to 60% of the mould, and then I just use my fingers to move the mixture around, just so I'm trying to eliminate any air bubbles, because it will be very obvious if these ones, if their little beak isn't perfectly formed and things like that. This is the little beehive, which I'm just loving. They are so pretty and so cute and just adorable on a windowsill or something like that. Now, this is the little egg-shaped cup pot and I really love it. It's not symmetrical, which is unusual for me. Normally I love symmetrical things. Now this is the double-sided little trinket tray, the larger one and then the smaller one, and I'm really happy with those. And here's my little two-dimensional bird with a heart. So that is the blue all done, and I'm pretty happy with those. Because I was able to work quite cleanly, I didn't really have any cleaning up much to do, and before you know it, I am on to the next colour. And so this one is a pale lilac colour. And again, this batch I'm mixing with the powder in first and then the liquid. And then after I've blended that together, I then add in the drops of the ARC liquid pigment from Just Resin, and this liquid pigment is specifically designed to work with acrylic resins, Jesmonite type products, concrete, things like that. And again, I'm working in those small batches of 240 grams of powder and 80 grams of water, because that is my comfort level. That's the amount that I'm happy working with. And so I did the elephant first, and now I've got this little eggshell rimmed pot, and I'll go ahead now and do the other moulds. I'll speed it up a little bit because you've already watched me do the first lot. You might notice that missing from this batch is the 2 little trinket trays, because I'm just not in love with them. From the moment I first opened them, the silicone that they're made of felt a bit odd, and I just don't ever think that they give that lovely crisp finish that other moulds do. So that they've had their outing for the day. That's it. So when these ones have cured again, around about an hour later, it's time to demold. So we did one of the little beehive moulds in this one. The beehive has the little bees crawling on the side, and that's where I was saying sometimes I think I should colour those in, but then I just think they look so pretty as they are. I just don't want to tempt fate, really. And then I've also done a 2D bird with the heart, and then I've got the 3D little bird and the pot and the elephant planter. So I was really happy with this little batch as well. And then my next batch is going to be the pale lemon colour, and this is where I'm going to change how I mix the materials together. So in the past, when I've made up batches of the AR400 using really pale colours, I've found that it's much better to weigh out the water first, then add the liquid pigment to it, blend that as much as possible, and then add in the powder. And I've just found that that minimises any streaks of colours, and especially when you're working with really pale colours. In fact, I think it's probably best practice. I should probably do it all the time, but sometimes I guess I'm not unhappy about getting some variation in colour and, you know, a little bit of a marbled look. But when I want something quite smooth, that's when I use the water first technique. So once again, the elephant, so that always takes more than my standard measurement that I'm working with, which again is the 80 grams of water, 3 drops of colouring, and the 240 grams of the AR400 casting powder. So because I'm happy that I'm getting that consistent colour, I don't mind making up repeat batches. Sometimes, I'm sure so many of you can empathise with me, sometimes you'll just make up a little bit more to finish off a batch, and it's either not quite enough or it's just a bit too much, and then you do another little mould, and then, before you know it, you've got 3 or 4 more things than you ever intended to do, which is crazy, really. The other thing you'll notice I'm doing throughout the video is I'm tapping onto the work surface, and this is in the hope that that movement will dislodge any air bubbles that are trapped within the mixture, and I just give it a little tippy tap, and then I really don't have any huge problems with bubbles with this mixture generally. I have in the past with those two shell trinket moulds. I just think it's the type of mould. I think that has a lot to do with it, because my technique for mixing hasn't changed. So that's the only thing I can attribute it to. And yeah, so this is where I got to the point where I made up a little bit to put in, and then I had too much, so I made up another little bit. So anyway, I end up with a few more little lemon bits and pieces, and that's okay. I was really enjoying, making several things. It's such a rewarding process working with these materials, because you start off with a liquid and you end up with this almost porcelain type of material after it's cured, and then over the next couple of days, it reaches its full strength, and yeah, it's just brilliant. I love it. So here we are demolding these ones, and again, I'm just very happy with them. There was very little trimming or sanding to do with any of these. My top tip for sanding with this eco casting powder would be to do it as close to demolding as possible, because it is just so soft, and you can really almost do it with the pad of your fingers, or just a little emery board or something like that, just to get those little uneven surfaces off. You don't need to do much at all. And I'm loving how delicate and pale this lemon colour is. I'm really happy with these ones. So now what I do is I set all of them aside on cake racks. And I do that so that they can get adequate airflow, and I do flip them over every few hours if I'm walking past, and in that way I know that they're going to have the best possible chance of curing to their ultimate strength over the next couple of days. So I usually leave them for 2 or 3 days. I certainly don't try and do anything with them before then. And once those days have passed and they've reached their maximum strength, that's when I go ahead and seal them. So here I'm using the Nicole Natural Wax, and I'm using their soft sponge to apply it. And then I'm going to be using a soft cloth to buff it off. And you can repeat this a couple of times if you like, but I usually find that one really good application or 2 faster applications is more than enough. Stay watching right to the end, because I'll show you all of the pieces all together. But I did promise at the beginning that I'd let you know my thoughts on this process, and if it's something I'd do again. And I'll be honest, I enjoyed the making, but there's just not that difference in each of the pieces that I've come to really love working on. And so I'm going to really try hard this year to think of different ways that I can finish off my EcoCast resin pieces. As you know, I've been using my laser engraver for some, and others I've used Decors, including UV DTF transfers on, and so I'm excited about continuing that journey. And yeah, so whilst I did end up with a lovely collection of items to display and hopefully sell, it wasn't the kind of work that I get the most joy from. So, a little bit of positive and a little bit of negative in there. They did look amazing altogether, as you'll see in the end. And I was very proud of what I'd done. And I was like, oh, I made all of those. And it was, a good afternoon's work making them, and then probably another hour or so just waxing them and finishing them off. So, yeah, that's my reflection on the whole experience. So I think in future, though, I love making things that are unique and a little bit quirky and that no one else will ever have. That's sort of my thing. And if you have any suggestions for me on how I could do that, please leave them in the comments below. I love reading your feedback and learning from you all. It's very exciting for me to be able to share this experience with you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you are interested, you're welcome to subscribe, like, share, and comment. And I'll leave you now just with some video and photo of the finished pieces. Bye for now. See you in the next video.